Grand Rising, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great Thursday so far. Happy Thursday. Alrighty, guys. If you haven't done so already and you're interested in getting your letters in for the Royal Lockbox, all you have to do is email savageroyaltyent@gmail.com. And if you want to remain anonymous, just put Lock Me in the Box Royalty as your subject line. We do have our second show for the Royal Lockbox. It will be this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you're definitely there, okay? All right, guys. So today we have a case of a mother who held a bag over her daughter's head and then sat on her for 45 minutes, but she just now was found not guilty of doing so. So this happened in October 16th of 2022, where a woman by the name of Melissa, Melissa had took Nichole to Spring Creek Park out there in Texas, and records do show that Melissa had told her daughter to get on her knees, pulled a pocket knife out, and slit her child's throat. So when that did not kill the child, she then proceeded to place a trash bag over Nichole's head, sat on her, and then suffocated her for 30 to 45 minutes. Now, Nichole, she did fight back. Fight back, of course, trying to get out of this. Hey, Layla, hello there. How are you? And Melissa had when she tried to stop, this whole attack from the hands of her mother, Melissa had then drove her Jeep to the ER, to the emergency room. She asked the staff for a wheelchair. The staff had found Nichole wrapped in plastic. Okay, the child was wrapped in plastic, and then the bag was over her head, and she was pronounced deceased right there. Now, Melissa, she did have multitudes of chilling words that she said throughout this entire thing, which had many people questioning her mental stability. Okay, investigators say that she killed her because she felt as though that Nichole was evil and that she was like the Chucky doll. So she felt the need to take her life. Now, it is also stated that, of course, per usual, like every case that we've covered when it comes to child abuse, neglect, and death, this week there was a previous history. So back in 2017, there was some reports that Melissa had thought that her infant was talking to her. Okay, she felt as though the child was saying some things to her as a little baby, unable to talk, of course. And then she was put in the hospital, and they said and diagnosed her with schizophrenia. And Nichole was then placed with her father and then her grandparents. Now, in 2020 to 2021, there was some concerns for safety as well, as a newborn sibling. It's also said something had happened in custody with the newborn child, and they had tried to fight. She had tried to get custody of this said child, but of course it did not go through. And then October 6th of 2021, 10 days before the murder of this child, in this case, CPS did notify Nichole was covered in scars, insect bites, as well as she still was in diapers. She was smelling of urine. She complained of some form of vaginal discomfort or pain, and CPS had opened an investigation, but they had left her with Melissa, okay, and the child's father. They thought after all of these allegations that it was okay to put her back with them. Now, the neighbors also did report that Melissa had argued with the mailbox at one point in time, actually having a back and forth argument with the mailbox. She smashed her own car with a bat, and she was known to be very much unstable. Now, a CPS has also made a statement after the death of the child. Melissa had prior history, but specific details were left to be confidential, per usual, and I don't like that either. I don't like after a death that you guys find the need to still keep things confidential. Now, I do understand that this is a situation where a child was involved, so of course some of the investigation is going to be confidential. But there are certain things, like i.e., how in depth was you guys' investigation when it came down to the infant, when it came down to her talking to a mailbox, when it came down to her doing all these different things? How in depth was your investigation? And how does a child complain of some form of vaginal discomfort, bruises, and burns, but yet you guys still feel the need to keep her with her mother and her father? Okay. Now, this at this point in time, prior to her death, you guys knew that this was dangerous. You guys also knew that this was a situation that can turn deadly. You have a woman that you guys had diagnosed as schizophrenic, unmanaged schizophrenia at that. It's one thing to be schizophrenic. It's another thing to be schizophrenic and not properly managing your schizophrenia. And that is why we're here where we are right now, because you guys saw all the red flags of mental health. And I'm one that is so I am pro mental health. When I say that, that means I am one that believes that even though you are you may have some form of mental disability or mental diagnosis, it does not mean that you cannot live a productive life. You can still live a productive life. But there was nothing here on the table that identified a person that was trying to live a better life. This was a person that it seems that you guys had received the earlier red flags of her talking to a mailbox and her doing all these crazy things, very minute before someone got harmed. But you guys did not take the proper precautions of dealing with someone with this type of mental disability. And she has this mental disability and she is not properly managing it, which means that she will then be a liability to her children. Okay. And that's why it's important that when you are if you have some form of mental diagnosis, that you are taking the steps of healing, one, and you're also taking the steps in order for you to be able to function in society right. And a lot of times that don't happen. And in this type of situation here, you guys seen it and did nothing. You mean to tell me that someone told you that this girl was talking to a mailbox and that didn't seem weird? That didn't seem that there was danger here? That did not let you guys know that there was a voice in this person's head telling them that can possibly tell them to do something or commit murder? Normally it starts off as talking to mailboxes and things that are not a person or a human being to talk to. Typically, it starts that way. And then these said voices start telling you to do things and to people. And you guys did not do that. And I would think that with all your historical studies and research of mental health, then you guys should have known that this baby should have been taken away from this woman a long time ago. Shoot, she should have been taken back in 2017 when she had thought that her infant was talking to her. She thought that her infant was having a full-blown conversation. And it sounds like to me that during this time of infancy, that will let me know that there was possibly some postpartum there early on that never got no attention paid to it. And here we are with schizophrenia. It possibly was some early signs early on in there. And you guys didn't make it make sense. Now, on September the 9th, of this year, a judge had heard the evidence in this capital murder case. And prosecutors did argue that Melissa had planned the killing. She driving her daughter to a park, and she also carried a knife in a trash bag, basically trying to say that she premeditated this. Okay. Now, Melissa's defense, they had leaned towards a long documented, which is true. Okay. You guys have been getting documentation about this woman and her mental for a very long time, 2017. Okay. So the defense went along with this whole, she has been dealing with this for years. It's well documented. Okay. And as well as her not only being diagnosed, but her having to stay at a hospital. That has been historically documented as well. So she faces an indefinite confinement in a mental hospital rather than prison. So they're basically saying that she is not guilty by reason of insanity. And in Texas, this means that the person is distinguished to be basically not guilty for the crime because they simply did not know what they were doing. They were not mentally there. So a lot of people do not view this as justice. I do. Okay. The reason why I do feel this is justice is because this is someone that is dealing with mental health issues. And we have to be very much careful to be able to understand the purpose of prisons and the purpose of hospitals. While prisons are supposed to be for rehabilitation, there's very minimal that the outcome is just that. Okay, a lot of times prison can turn someone worse than what they already were. So we have to be very mindful about placing people who are mentally ill into prisons. Okay, it only makes the situation worse. It does not make it any better. So I do see this as some form of justice. One, because what we don't want to do, okay, is ignore the fact that this is a person that was failed by the system. And I'm going to say failed by the system and give her a little bit of leeway because she has been well documented as mentally ill. It was the system in this case that did not follow proper protocol when it comes to children and keeping them safe. Okay, when she was talking and thought that she was having a back and forth conversation with a newborn child, that is when you guys could have been able to identify the early signs before we got to the ultimate death of her child. Okay, so while this is something bad that she has done, of course, yes, it's really bad. Am I making excuses for her? Absolutely not. But who I'm not making excuses for and who I'm not going to look over is the system that failed her and also failed the child. Because this child should have never been in her custody, let alone by herself as the main guardian. She should have never been. Never been. You guys dropped the ball. You guys have blood on your hands because you had one job, and that was the job of giving a proper mental evaluation in which you gave her, which then identified her as schizophrenic. You then did nothing to create any form of proper planning to ensure that her and her children will be safe. It was definitely early signs, and all it did, okay, all the talking to the baby, the talking to the mailbox, all it did was progress. And we are too deep into mental health for you guys to act like that you don't know that this is something that worked its way to this point. Okay, this is not how people are out here trying to throw labels on different things, or this is a new type of disease that nobody understands, or people are still trying to find the cause. And this is not that. We know what mental health look like. We know how to identify mental health. We know the risk of mental health, and we also have proper precautions in place to ensure things like this don't happen. And that's where you guys drop the ball at. Okay, while it may not seem like justice, what will be against her rights, and that's the mother, okay, is that what will be against her right is throwing her into a prison when you know for a fact that she was mentally ill. You knew it. This is not a case of someone that we've seen many cases over here where someone will plead mental insanity and they have no history of being mentally ill. We've been talking a whole lot about this mental psychosis. This is something that is coming up a lot too. This is not even a psychosis. This is something where a woman has been like this for years. Now, if this was something that was a mental psychosis and you guys are still trying to understand this whole mental psychosis, spiritual psychosis, and things of that nature, then I would understand. But schizophrenia, absolutely not. I will not understand that. Because she had all the signs and all the red flags before she took her child to a park, took a knife to her throat, and smothered her for 45 minutes. And that's crazy. Absolutely, positively insane. Okay? Now, there's a lot of questions into this. Okay? It's been a lot of questions about this case, how we got here. The father has also, been brought up as well. So James Bradshaw, he is Nichole's father, and he did describe her as so full of love and giggles, and her family really loved and admired her. She had really great energy. And there's also the family saying that she will also hold a special place with the family, of course, because this is just something that was so unthinkable. And it looks like that when it comes to the father, my question is, what were you doing? Because I can put the ball in the court of the mother all day, but I haven't seen any type of mental diagnosis for you. And what I don't want to do is overlook the fact that there was two parents into this. This is not a situation where a woman didn't have a secondary parental role like a father there, because she did. It's the point of, did she use it? And it's another thing of, did the system allow this guy, this father, to use it? Because it looks like that you guys put the kids right back with the mother and father, even while knowing that the mother was mentally not there. And I have to be honest, when you are in a relationship with someone that is mentally ill and they are out there, they are like watching a child themselves. They're not like an adult. They're like watching a child themselves. Okay. So if you guys put this child back into this household, and you know that taking care of someone that has a certain diagnosis or any mental health diagnosis that is not being properly managed, then you know what it takes to take care of this person. You know what the responsibilities come with. And you also know that there are other adults in their lives who have to kind of think for them sometimes. So why would you put this on this one person, this said father? And when it comes to the father, why didn't you leave her and let the system deal with her, and you take your kid and you fight? But unfortunately, we live in a system where you guys want to believe that the mothers is automatically where a child is supposed to be, when in fact they're supposed to be with the father, because the mother ain't worth nothing. But that's a whole nother conversation, because we're seeing a lot of cases where, things will pop up, and then the mother, she runs off and she do something crazy like this. And it's like, well, where's the father? I just covered a case on TikTok just yesterday where father had been fighting for years to get custody of his children. He identified CPS signing his name about the custody of his daughter. He did not learn about his child's death by the authorities. He learned about it because someone had worked within the system and told him to go check on his daughter. His daughter had to get driven to the EMS because her mother had just killed her. And the EMS worker knew her daddy, contacted her on the phone and said, hey, you need to go to the hospital and check on your baby. I just had to drop her off there. His child was already deceased. What they did discover is that he had been trying to get custody of his child for years. And for some reason, you guys automatically believe that just because a person births a child, they are supposed to be the 100% custodial parent, and they don't. Some custodial parents are only good for birthing. They're not good for custodial purposes. Let's just be honest here. So why couldn't we utilize this father, give him the resources in which he needed to separate himself from her and raise his child? We need to start looking at those type of things as well within this so-called, system of child protection, adult protection, and mental health. I know that there is some form of evacuation plan typically for children, but I wonder if that was even here in this instance, because the two people that were supposed to be her guardians was wrapped up in the same hole of the mother's mental. The father's watching the mother's watching what we don't know, and the child is out here just trying to figure it out with a parent that's having voices in their head telling them to do evil things and believing that the child themselves are evil. Because there's no reason, that this baby should not be here since 2017, and the mother talking to an infant child in a mailbox. Let's just be honest here. Alrighty, guys. Another great show, another great topic. As you guys know, I will not be here on tomorrow. Okay, I will be here on Saturday. And just make sure that you're staying updated to all of your notifications, as I will start to post shows between today and tomorrow for next week. Okay. Once again, get your letters in to the Lockbox show Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you got to do is email savageroyaltent@gmail.com. Okay. Also, I didn't know I'm going to get you guys feedback. If you notice, I've been really deep on this cult. Okay, there's a cult that I am watching right now. And when I say I am sleeping and breathing, I'm even talking. My cat is good. He's actually bad. He got this thing with cords now, and it's really I don't know. It started all of a sudden, like randomly biting cords within the last 24 hours. I don't know if he has a plan or something, or I don't know if life isn't not lifing for him, but within the last about 24 hours, it's been an attack on all cords. He's never done this before. Don't know why he's doing this or what it is, but he got this thing with plugs right now. Other than that, everything's good. But I've been wrapped up in this whole cult. Did you guys want me to cover the House of Prayer Christian Churches of America over here on YouTube? I will tell you guys, if I do that, it 9 times out of 10 will have to be, it's going to cover almost a week. That's how in depth it is. This case is so deep that while they just now arrested them this month and they have an arraignment tomorrow that I'm looking out for, the trial itself probably won't be here for another 5 or 6 years. That's how in depth this cult is. And they have been taking the funds of military veterans since 2001. And the leader of this cult, it's from Haiti. And he stole the identity of a man that was diagnosed with HIV and passed away. When that man died, he basically took his identity, went into the United States military, served, got out, started a cult connecting with military soldiers, and then getting their benefits through lies, deceit, and a fake education plan. I think I want to cover it, okay? I've been reading about them. The leader is a nut. He's crazy. And you know what else? Come here. Let me tell you a secret. I'm talking to someone that is in the cult. So there's information out there that nobody else has, okay? And I think that I want to cover it. I think I want to cover it over here, okay? So if you see that pop up next week, hey, Electric Jiggy, if you see the show about them pop up next week, don't be alarmed. It's a lot, okay? It's a whole lot. I'm actually gonna be doing an update on TikTok today for the cult, okay? Please cover it, okay? If I do it, the cult itself possibly be about 2 to 3 days of 1 week. That's how much, and I even have footage. That's how deep this is, okay? And I've read through all the indictments. It's a lot, okay? Alrighty, guys. I'll see you guys Saturday, okay? You guys have a great day. Make sure that you're following me on all social media platforms and watch out for your notifications. Thank you for watching True Crime with Savage RoyalT.